a third novel in the process, coming along?
So I wrote the third manuscript in the series last year as part of a scholarship that I had to write a novel in a year. And then this year I was in Johannesburg at the Johannesburg Institute for Advanced Study, and I was working on my fourth manuscript. So I have the third and fourth manuscripts ready. The third manuscript is, definitely in the finalizing stages, and then the fourth manuscript is in the beginning stages. So I do have 2 manuscripts that I'm working on currently. Yes. So the third manuscript, which is called The Quality of Mercy, is, and I don't want to give too much away, so something happens at the end of the history of man, and so the quality of mercy is sort of like investigating what happened at the end. So at the end of the history of man. So whereas the theory of flight and the history of man are definitely connected, the quality of mercy and the history of man are connected more closely, more directly, let me say, because it's sort of like a proper sequel in some ways. And then the fourth manuscript, which is still a baby in all of this, is really where I think it's kind of like the genesis of everything. So it's the story that takes place at the very beginning chronologically, even though in terms of potential publication, it's going to take place later than some of the other stories. So yeah, so it's the story that begins the whole world that we end up being in reading this series. I'm very excited. It's what I really like about this is that I get to work with the same characters over and over again. I was at a book fair, and I remember asking some of the other authors, like, do you have difficulty letting go of your characters? Because I certainly do. So I think I found a way to just always be with the same characters over and over and over again by having this series of interconnected novels. Yes, I'm very happy.
And then just finally, talk to me about your writing process.
Like I mentioned before, so what I like to do is to have like some like a plot outline and then some character sketches, so that I kind of have an idea of where the story is going to go. I do a lot of research since I write historical fiction on some level. I do a lot of research, so I spend quite a bit of time at the archives, and then when I'm at the archives, I'm obviously collecting notes, and then I write down what I think would be useful for this particular story, and then like I said, I outline the plot, and then I character sketch, and then when that is all done, I start writing. But I think the wonderful thing about writing is that even after you've done all that, right, the writing process is its own thing, right? It's this organic, chaotic thing that happens, and you just follow where it takes you. But I like having sort of like that cushioning, right, of sort of like having this material beforehand that I then have to guide me. I haven't written any of my manuscripts the same way. So for the theory of flight, it took me years, I think almost a decade to write the first draft of the manuscript, because I was doing a lot of things. I was in graduate school, then I was teaching, and so I never had time to just focus on the actual the creative writing. And then for the history of man, like you just heard, I kind of like, in 4 months, I went from character sketching, and then, this is the draft that I'm going to send off to Penguin. And for my third manuscript, the one that I wrote with the scholarship, and that's the Moreland Scholarship, I actually wrote it 10,000 words a month. And so that was because that was the requirement, that you write 10,000 words. And so that's what I did. So that's how I wrote that third manuscript. And then for this last manuscript, I did what I did for the history of man, which was collecting all these notes and character sketches, and plot outline, and then writing over like an 8-week period. So I like that. I like the trying to get the first draft out in like 8 weeks. What happens after that, you know, how many years that takes to actually get to where it's supposed to go, it's up to the actual individual manuscript. So for The History of Man, I think that happened a lot quicker and sooner than, you know, it is happening for these other manuscripts, which is fine. I think, you know, you have to allow each story to have its own life.